So I want to come on to protein, because I guess that's the one thing that we all go to, and particularly nowadays with different diets and intermittent fasting and people who want to put on muscle, there's definitely a lot of talk at the moment about people not probably having enough protein. But the more you sort of start looking at, well, what's out there and what you should be taking, it seems as though it's a bit of a maze in terms of finding a protein that actually does what it's supposed to. So it's difficult. It's easy to measure for me to measure the effects of like a pre-workout, because it's kind of instant. Whereas protein, not quite as obvious outside of how you feel with it in terms of your stomach and taste and that kind of thing. So one of the things I heard you talking about online is protein spiking. So probably a good place to start is, what is protein spiking?
Yeah. What's funny is I asked that same question to Jim back in 2013 after we even had our protein. And the unique thing about that question is it took me months to understand when he explained it. But then once he did, it was 30 seconds of, oh my God, I get it. And so what protein spiking is this was a big problem when we first started. So the cool thing about our brand and what Jim does, and now what I do too, is I'm always looking at categories and saying, where can we improve? Because if something is already out there, and Jim used to be notorious for this, like protein was a good example. Jim never really wanted to have a protein powder until protein spiking became a thing, and then everyone started running towards that. And he's like, well, I can't recommend a product. We don't have a joint product right now, but there's a joint product out there that Jim likes. Does that mean that we won't have one? Well, now we've made the decision to probably have one, but Jim's been recommending like MRM and ProLab and all these other brands for joint formulas because there's nothing wrong with the formulas. But now it's probably a good thing that we have our own formula because, we have a brand. But protein spiking is interesting. So what protein spiking is if you turn the bottle of a protein powder around, most protein powders, whey protein, whatever it is, okay, protein, it's going to have roughly anywhere between most are going to have 24 grams of protein. So the consumer is like, great, I'm getting 24 grams of protein. I take a scoop and I get 24 grams of protein and I'm good. And that's what I thought too. And Jim's like, no, that's not it. 24 grams of protein, you have to look underneath that label, and I don't have a protein powder in here, but so our protein powders, every protein powder has a supplements facts panel where it shows you the calories, the carbohydrates, the sugars, and the protein. Ours, it says protein, 24 grams. Underneath that is a little paragraph that says ingredients. So by law, every protein powder and product has to list everything that is in that scoop, okay? So that's where it lists the protein and anything else that could be in there. So if a protein powder says we have 24 grams of protein, 6 grams of amino acids, caution. The reason why is because sometimes what a brand used to do, and now because we actually exposed a lot of it, Jim exposed a lot of that, brands were putting in 6 grams of BCAAs, but when you test out the protein contents, those BCAAs show up on the actual test as protein. So you're not really getting 24 grams from whey protein. You might be only getting 15 grams of whey protein. And the rest is just, I'm sorry to say, useless because it's amino acids.
And what's the difference then? I don't understand that, but so...
Well, the difference is that, number one, you're lying to the consumer because they're thinking that, when you're getting protein, you're like, I'm getting it from a source, from, whey protein, which is derived from cow's milk, right? And it's the bioavailability of that ingredient, it actually helps boost muscle protein synthesis, okay? Which is essentially like, the building blocks of muscle. So when you're getting amino acids in substituting that in for somebody buying whey protein where they're thinking, I'm getting 24 grams of whey protein, but it's not coming from the source that actually helps boost muscle protein synthesis, two things happen. Muscle protein synthesis is not boosted, and somebody's paying for something that's cheap because, it's a cheap way, right. Pun intended, a cheap form of lying to the consumer because it's more economically beneficial for that,
To put amino acids in.
Amino
I
acids,
always thought
yeah.
amino acids, you took amino acids as well to build muscle. So if I saw protein that's got amino acids, I would have thought, okay,
it's more beneficial. And now that's changed because it's fine to have amino acids in your protein, but disclose that on your label separately so that the consumers know. If you look at our protein, it says 24 grams of protein up there, right? But we actually break it down to how much protein is in there from each source. 7.5 grams of whey protein isolate, 7 grams of of casein. So we break down what percentage of those 24 grams and how much is being used from each one of those sources. So when I'm getting 24 grams of protein, I'm telling you you're getting 24 grams of protein from these protein sources. If I didn't, and it's not by law, you have to break it down like we do. We just do because we're telling you, we're not lying to you. So if you do it that way, and then you say, in addition to 24 grams of protein, you're also getting, 6 grams of branching amino acids, you're getting, all these other ingredients of an amino acid.
So is amino acid, if it's disclosed as part of the protein then, are you saying then that an amino acid would register as a protein,
yes,
but it's not really a useful protein to have as part of the protein?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. So the way that we explain that to a consumer is very simple. It said, look, turn the back of your bottle of protein around, and if in the ingredients, where it says ingredients, it has words like taurine, glycine, creatine, glutamine, anything ending in INE, chances are that protein is possibly spiked. And it's not saying it is spiked, it is possibly spiked. Because when you look at protein, as I mentioned before, we have 4 different types of protein in our Premier protein blend.
And is that I guess it's on purpose, but is there a specific benefit of combining 3 different types?
Yes, absolutely. So there's different forms of protein which are digested differently. So for instance, whey protein isolate, we'll put it in like 3 boxes. So whey protein isolate has a higher percentage of actual protein than, let's say, whey protein concentrate, which I said earlier, we don't use concentrates.
Why is that? Because
concentrates have a high amount of lactose in it. At best, a whey protein concentrate, you're only getting about 50, 60, 70% protein. The rest is lactose. That's the reason why some people, when they take whey protein and it's whey protein concentrate, they get stomach indigestion, they got gas and bloating, they don't feel good. I can't take protein. Turn your bottle around, look for whey protein concentrate. It's not that it's a bad form, it's a cheaper form. So a lot of brands opt to use the cheaper form of protein. I mentioned our bars. We don't even have whey protein concentrate in here. And it's almost impossible to make any stable food that holds together without fats and lactose, right? So lactose helps hold things together in the form of a bar. But when you're talking about protein, my opinion, Jim's opinion is, and I have this opinion because of Jim as he explained it to me, you don't want to take whey protein concentrate because you get the high amounts of lactose and less protein. Whey protein isolate is 90% or better protein, very minimal amounts of lactose. So it's a better source of protein. It's a cleaner source. It's not the scientifically named term, but people say, oh, whey protein isolate's clean. Yeah, it's because it's a higher quality of protein, but it's also more expensive. So a lot of brands don't opt to use as much whey protein isolate as we do. So when brands out there saying whey protein, yeah, that's true, but then look at the ingredients underneath the supplement facts, the little box, it says ingredients, and it'll have whey protein isolate, whey protein concentrate, and then whatever sources they have in there. We just tell our consumers, look, if it has whey protein concentrate, toss it.
Right. That's why I get that some of those ready to drink. So I always wonder, whenever I have one, and sometimes if I need something quickly and replace a meal, I have it, and I have a terrible stomach. And so I'm going to have a look in that.
Look at the concentrate. But as I said, so you have these categories. And so the reason why we have a blend of protein is because we have whey protein isolate and whey protein concentrate, 2 different types. And so I mentioned before about those 5 pillars. What form of protein you're going to use? We're not going to use whey protein concentrate because in my opinion, it's shit. We only use isolate. Jim's opinion is shit, not really mine. My opinion is derived from Jim's, okay? But that's fast digesting. Then you have like the medium digesting, which would be like the egg white protein. And then you have the very slow digesting, which is the casein. So the data and the research shows that having a blend of fast, medium, and slow digesting protein extends the window of muscle protein synthesis for a longer period of time. And the reason for that is because let's say you're done working out. Your body is in its most optimal state to absorb nutrients. Well, if you have a very fast digesting protein, it spikes up and goes down, so it absorbs really fast, but then your body is still in that, optimal phase of muscle protein synthesis, and you still need nutrients getting into the system, getting into the muscle. So casein and egg white protein, as fast as you need it with an isolate, because you need that spike, you need that. But you also need another, as that's falling off the curve, and we have this on the back of our label, we actually have a diagram. So that whey protein isolate spikes up, but it falls down real fast. So you get the influx that you need, but then the time in which you need it falls off flat. So then what's your body doing? It has no nutrients. So that's where the casein and the egg white protein now can be digested to where you have a longer window of muscle protein synthesis because of the different absorption rates of that protein.